Two guys are driving along in a car when they see two dogs mating in someone's yard. The driver says, "That is great. Me and my wife do that every night." The passenger replies, "My wife is conservative. She likes the old-fashioned way. But if you tell me how you get your wife to do this, I would like to try it." The driver says, "Give your wife 2 drinks and she will be all set." The next morning they're cruising along and the driver asks, "How was it?" The passenger answer, "It was great, but it took my wife 10 drinks." The driver looks at him funny and says, "10 drinks?" The passenger says, "Yes. After 2, she was more than willing to make love that way, but it took her 8 more to get her out on the front lawn." A guy walks into a bar and tells the bartender, "If I show you a wild trick, will you give me a free drink?" The bartender shrugs. "Sure, why not?" The guy reaches into his pocket and pulls out a tiny rat. Then, out of the other pocket, he pulls a teeny tiny piano. The rat stretches, cracks his knuckles, and starts playing the blues like a rodent Ray Charles. Stunned, the bartender pours him a free drink. After finishing it, the guy says, "Now, if I show you an even better trick, do I drink free all night?" "Buddy, if you can top that, you're drinking on me till closing," the bartender replies. The man pulls the rat and piano out again, and this time reaches into his coat and pulls out a small bullfrog. The frog clears his throat and starts belting out soulful blues lyrics. The rat's playing, the frog's singing, the bar is dead silent in awe. A girl sitting nearby gasps, comes closer and says, "That's incredible. Can it kiss too?" The guy smiles, picks up the frog, and the frog gives her a quick kiss. Suddenly, a man rushes up and says, "I'll give you $10,000 for that frog." The guy says, "Nope, not for sale." $25,000. Nope. $50,000. Cash. Deal. The bartender's jaw drops. "Are you crazy? That frog was a gold mine. Why'd you sell him?" The man smirks and says, "Relax. The frog can't sing. The rat's a ventriloquist." Old Mr. Patterson, the tightest man in town, was lying on his deathbed. As his final wish, he asked to be alone with his lawyer, his doctor, and his pastor. "I know I can't take it with me," he whispered, "but I'm going to try." He handed each man $150,000 and said, "Make sure this money goes in the casket with me." A few days after the funeral, the pastor cleared his throat at the diner. "With a heavy heart, I confess, I only put $100,000 in the casket." The doctor sighed and rubbed his temples. "Since we're being honest, I only put in $80,000 myself." The lawyer slammed his coffee cup down in disgust. "You two ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Taking money from a dying man," he huffed. "Am I the only honest one here?" He pulled out his checkbook and waved it proudly. "I wrote him a check for the full $150,000. An elderly gentleman with silver hair walked into a jewelry shop on a Friday evening with a stunning young woman holding his arm. He told the jeweler, "I'd like to buy a very special ring for my girlfriend." The jeweler showed him a ring priced at £5,000. The old man frowned. "I was hoping for something a bit more impressive." So the jeweler disappeared into the back and returned with a beautiful ring. "This one is exceptional," he said, "only £40,000. The young woman gasped, her eyes lighting up with excitement. The old man smiled and said, "Perfect, I'll take it." "How would you like to pay?" asked the jeweler. "I'll write a check," the old man replied. "I know banks are closed until Monday, so just call then to confirm the funds. I'll come by Monday afternoon to collect the ring." Monday morning the jeweler called him. "Sir, I checked with your bank. There's no money in your account." "I know," the old man replied cheerfully, "but let me tell you about my weekend." A woman was flying down the highway in her bright little sports car when she got pulled over by a police officer. The officer walked up and said, "Ma'am, could I see your driver's license, please?" The woman started rummaging through her handbag, getting more and more flustered. After a minute, she looked up and asked, "Remind me, what does a license look like again?" The officer said, "It's usually a small square card with your photo on it." The woman kept digging through her purse until she finally pulled out a small mirror. She looked at it quickly, then handed it over. "Here you go." The officer looked at the mirror, paused for a moment, then handed it back. "Oh, my mistake," she said. "I didn't realize you were a police officer too." An 85-year-old man had to provide a sperm sample for his physical exam. The doctor gave him a jar and said, "Take this jar home and bring back a sample tomorrow." The next day, the man returned to the doctor's office with the jar, as clean and empty as the day before. The doctor asked, "What happened?" The man explained, "Well, Doc, it's like this. First, I tried with my right hand, but nothing. Then I tried with my left hand, still nothing. Then I asked my wife for help. She tried with her right hand, then with her left, still nothing. She even tried with her mouth, first with her teeth in, then with her teeth out, but still nothing. We even called Arlene, the lady next door. She tried too, first with both hands, then an armpit, and she even tried squeezing it between her knees, but still nothing." The doctor, shocked, asked, "You asked your neighbor?" The old man replied, "Yep, none of us could get the jar open." A blonde woman walks into a bank in NYC before going on vacation and asks for a $5,000 loan. The banker asks, "Okay, miss, is there anything you would like to use as collateral?" The woman says, "Yes, of course. I'll use my Rolls-Royce." The banker, stunned, asks, "A $250,000 Rolls-Royce? Really?" The woman is completely positive. She hands over the keys as the bankers and loan officers laugh at her. They check her credentials, make sure she is the title owner. Everything checks out. They park it in their underground garage for 2 weeks. When she comes back, she pays off the $5,000 loan as well as the $15.41 interest. The loan officer says, "Miss, we are very appreciative of your business with us, but I have one question. We looked you up and found out that you are a multi-millionaire. Why would you want to borrow $5,000? The woman replies, "Where else in New York City can I park my car for 2 weeks for only $15.41 and expect it to be there when I return?" A man is in a bar and falling off his stool every couple of minutes. He's obviously drunk. So the bartender says to another man in the bar, "Why don't you be a good Samaritan and take him home?" The man takes the drunk out the door and to his car, and he stumbles at least 10 times. They drive along and the drunk points out his house to the man. He stops the car and the drunk stumbles up the steps to his house with the man. The drunk's wife greets them at the door. "Why, thank you for bringing him home for me, but where's his wheelchair?" Jay went to a dentist for tooth extraction, but first inquired about the cost. The dentist said $1,200. Jay thought that was too much. After some thought, he asked about cheaper methods. The dentist said, yes, it can be done without anesthesia and will cost only $300, but it would be very, very painful. Jay said, "Okay, doc, let's do it without anesthesia." The dentist removed the tooth without anesthesia. During the entire procedure, Jay sat quietly, even smiling a little. The dentist was not only surprised, but was quite impressed and said, "I have never seen such a brave patient. I don't even want my fees. Here, take $500 as a reward instead. You've taught me such a powerful lesson today about mastering one's pain." In the evening, he met his fellow dentists and told everyone about this amazing Jay patient. One doctor jumped up and shouted, "That Jay first came to me. I gave him anesthesia and asked him to wait outside for half an hour. After half an hour, when I called for him, he had left." Sitting in a traffic light in downtown Brooklyn, when a bunch of rowdy drunks pull up alongside. "Hey, show us your tits, you bloody penguins," shouts one of the drunks. Quite shocked, Mother Superior turns to Sister Mary Immaculata and says, "I don't think they know who we are. Show them your cross." Sister Mary Immaculata rolls down her window and shouts, "Piss off, you f***ing little wankers, before I come over there and rip your balls off." Sister Mary Immaculata then rolls up her window, looks back at Mother Superior quite innocently, and asks, "Did that sound cross enough?" A priest offered a nun a lift. She got in and crossed her legs, forcing her gown to reveal a leg. The priest nearly had an accident. After controlling the car, he stealthily slid his hand up her leg. The nun said, "Father, remember Psalm 129? The priest removed his hand. But, changing gears, he let his hand slide up her leg again. The nun once again said, "Father, remember Psalm 129? The priest apologized. "Sorry, sister, but the flesh is weak." Arriving at the convent, the nun sighed heavily and went on her way. On his arrival at the church, the priest rushed to look up Psalm 129. It said, "Go forth and seek. Further up you will find glory." Moral of the story: if you are not well informed in your job, you might miss a great opportunity. A blonde brought her baby to a doctor. After examining, the doctor right away determined that the baby had an earache. He wrote a prescription for eardrops. In the directions, he wrote, "Put 2 drops in our ear every 4 hours," and he abbreviated R as an R with a circle around it. Several days passed, and the blonde returned with her baby, complaining that the baby still had an earache, and his little behind was getting really greasy with all those drops of oil. The doctor looked at the bottle of eardrops, and sure enough, the pharmacist had typed the following instructions on the label: "Put 2 drops in re-ear every 4 hours." Every Monday morning for years at about 11:30 a.m., the telephone operator in a small Sierra Nevada town received a call from a man asking the exact time. One day, the operator summed up the nerve to ask him why the regularity. "I'm foreman of the local sawmill," he explained. "Every day I have to blow the whistle at noon, so I call you to get the exact time." The operator giggled. "That's really funny," she said. "All this time we've been setting our clock by your whistle."
Jay calls up the doc at 2 a.m. "Doc, my wife is having severe abdominal pain. I think it's her appendix." "What nonsense," says the doc sleepily. "I took out your wife's appendix 2 years ago. Go back to sleep." 5 minutes later, the phone rings and it's Jay again. "Doc, I'm sure it's her appendix." "Oh, God," the doctor groaned. "Did you ever hear of anyone having a second appendix?" "No," says Jay, "but I'm sure you must have heard of someone having a second wife."
Dr. Simon is known throughout London as one of the best consultants on arthritis. He always has a waiting room full of people who need his advice and specialist treatment. One day, an elderly lady slowly struggles into his waiting room. She is completely bent over and leans heavily on her walking stick. A chair is found for her. Eventually, her turn comes to go into Dr. Simon's office. 15 minutes later, to everyone's surprise, she comes briskly out of his room, walking almost upright. She is holding her head high and has a smile on her face. A woman in the waiting room says, "It's unbelievable. A miracle even. You walk in bent in half and now you walk out erect. What a fantastic doctor he is. Tell me, what did Dr. Simon do to you? Miracle, schmiracle. He just gave me a longer walking stick. Two doctors, Dean and Gable, are treating a man with lung disease. They're explaining how his smoking had led to his condition worsening. But it's just herbal, the patient protested. How can it be bad? Dr. Jenkins sighed. Nature isn't all innocent. Apricot stones contain lethal amounts of cyanide. There is a certain plant in my back garden. If you sit under it for just 5 minutes, you will die. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe for you. The man seemed to accept that and promised to stop his smoking. After he left, the doctors went to lunch. As they were sitting down to eat, Dr. Smith asked, "Oh, by the way, what is that plant that kills you if you sit under it?" "A water lily." Oliver's wife Amelia and kids all came down with the flu. Upon returning home from the pediatrician's office with his 4 kids, he turned his attention to his ailing wife. After preparing some chicken soup for her, he picked up the phone to call her doctor. The receptionist picked up and he relayed the situation to her. She then told him that the office was going to be closed for a couple of days, but that his wife could have an appointment in 3 days. Oliver went ballistic and yelled into the phone, "3 days? A doctor can't see her for 3 days? She could be dead by then." Calmly, the voice at the other end of the line replied, "If so, would you please call to cancel the appointment?" Little Johnny was very proud of his mangy mutt. He was playing with it when a passing gentleman stopped and asked Johnny, "What kind of a dog is that, Johnny?" "He's a police dog, sir," the boy replied. "What? A police dog? He doesn't look like one." "Oh, I know it," was little Johnny's answer, "but you see, sir, he's in the Secret Service." A man is walking home when he sees a dog buying meat for his owner. The man watches the dog when the butcher takes a little too much and growls at him until he gets the right amount. The man follows the dog and watches as the dog stands on 2 legs and helps an old lady across the street. Amazed, the man follows the dog home and watches the dog ring the doorbell. When the owner comes to the door, the owner takes the bags and tells the dog to stay in the front yard. Frustrated, the man goes up to the owner and yells, "This dog is amazing! He gets your groceries, makes sure you have the exact change, helps old ladies across the street, and this is how you treat him?" The owner replies, "I know, but this is the 3rd time this week he left his keys." A girl took her dog to the parlor for a haircut and asked what it would cost. Being told that it would cost her $50, she was outraged. "I only pay $30 for my own haircut." The groomer replied, "That may be true, but then you don't bite, do you?" A nursery school teacher was delivering a station wagon full of kids home one day when a fire truck zoomed past. Sitting in the front seat of the fire truck was a Dalmatian dog. The children fell to discussing the dog's duties. "They use him to keep crowds back," said one youngster. "No," said another, "he's just for good luck." A third child brought the argument to a close. "They use the dogs," she said firmly, "to find the fire hydrant." Banta's broken leg. "How did it happen?" the doctor asked Banta as he set the Banta's broken leg. "Well, doctor, 15 years ago." "Never mind the past. Tell me how you broke your leg this morning." "Like I was saying, 15 years ago, when I first started working on the farm, that night, right after I'd gone to bed, the farmer's beautiful daughter came into my room. She asked me if there was anything I wanted. I said, 'No, everything is fine.' 'Are you sure?' she asked. 'I'm sure,' I said. 'Isn't there anything I can do for you?' she wanted to know. 'I reckon not,' I replied. 'Excuse me,' said the doctor. 'What the hell does this story have to do with your broken leg?' 'Well, this morning,' Banta explained, 'when it dawned on me what she meant, I fell off the roof.'" 3 inmates were being transported to state prison. As part of a new morale initiative, each of them was allowed to bring one item to help pass the time behind bars. Halfway through the long bus ride, one of the men leaned over to the other and asked, "So, what'd you bring?" The second inmate proudly pulled a wooden case from his bag and flipped it open. Inside were brushes and tubes of oil paint. "I'm going to paint," he said confidently. "Landscapes, portraits, whatever I can find. I'll be the next Picasso of Cell Block D." He grinned, clearly pleased with himself. Then he nodded toward the first man. "What about you?" The first inmate reached into his duffel and pulled out a thick stack of playing cards. "Cards," he said with a wink. "Poker, blackjack, solitaire, rummy. I'll never be bored." They both chuckled, and then noticed the third inmate sitting quietly by the window, a smug little smile on his face. "You've been awfully quiet," the card player said. "What did you bring that's got you looking so satisfied?" The third man slowly reached into his bag and pulled out a large box. He set it on his lap and turned it so they could read the label. It was a family-sized box of tampons. The other two stared at him. "Tampons?" the painter asked, confused. "What on earth are you going to do with those?" The third inmate tapped the side of the box and smiled wider. "Right here on the back," he said, "it says with these you can swim, ride horses, play tennis, and even go hiking." He shrugged casually. "So I figure I'll be able to do anything." 2 men were having an excruciatingly slow round of golf. The 2 women playing ahead of them seemed to hit every sand trap, water hazard, and rough on the course. To make matters worse, they didn't follow proper golf etiquette and let the men play through. After 2 hours of frustration, one man said, "I've had enough. I'm going to ask them to let us play through." He started walking toward the women, but halfway there, he stopped, turned around, and came back. Looking embarrassed, he said, "I can't do it. One of those women is my wife, and the other is my mistress. Maybe you should go instead." The second man nodded and began walking toward the women, but just like his friend, he stopped halfway, turned around, and walked back. With a sheepish grin, he said, "Small world,